40 years on, Israel celebrates what it calls the reunification of Jerusalem. For the rest of the world, it's been 4 decades of illegal occupation. So who should Jerusalem belong to? And what will the future hold? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton. In the politics of the Middle East, dates matter, but even if they're contested. This week, Israel is staging gala celebrations to mark 40 years since taking control of all Jerusalem. But it's an anniversary based on the Hebrew calendar. The rest of the world will remember the events of 1967 next month. And in the meantime, the international community won't be turning up for Israel's party, instead condemning their presence in East Jerusalem as an illegal occupation. Meanwhile, for Palestinians, Tuesday was Nakba Day, the anniversary of the establishment of the State of Israel 59 years ago. Nakba means catastrophe, and the day marks the start of the forced expulsion of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their land. And it's that history and the occupation of Jerusalem that continues to lie at the heart of the Middle East conflict. The future of the city has been the main stumbling block in all previous peace negotiations. In this edition of Inside Story, we'll be looking at where Jerusalem is now with an Israeli and Palestinian expert on the city. And later, we'll ask if a peaceful settlement is possible. But first, our Jerusalem correspondent Jackie Rowland reflects on a still contested city.
40 years ago, and Israeli troops and tanks reshaped the map of Jerusalem, occupying and annexing the east of the city. Until the Six-Day War in 1967, East Jerusalem was under Jordanian control. In the west of the city, the Jewish state had already declared Jerusalem its capital and made it the seat of its parliament. At the heart of that claim is the Wailing Wall, the ruin of the Second Jewish Temple, the most sacred building in Judaism. 4 decades on, and using the Jewish calendar, Israel celebrates what it calls 40 years of reunification, although most of the world sees it as 4 decades of illegal occupation. Israel's celebrations this week began with a promise from the Prime Minister, himself a former mayor of Jerusalem.
The past 40 years are only the beginning. I believe, hope and pray that we will continue to work together to strengthen Jerusalem, to expand its borders, to cultivate its foundations, to build its neighborhoods and maintain its beauty and take care of its future.
But Israel fears that a growing Arab population will undermine those dreams. It's just allocated almost $1.5 billion to develop Jewish areas of Jerusalem in an attempt to strengthen Israel's claim to the entire city.
East Jerusalem is home to 250,000 Arabs. They view it as the capital of any future Palestinian state, the city they've called home for centuries, and site of Al-Aqsa Mosque as well as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Palestinians see a resolution to its status as essential to any peace talks.
We remain committed to our national rights over East Jerusalem, capital of our state and shelter of our sacred sites, as well as our rights on the Christian and Islamic holy sites, maintaining that the city should be accessible to all.
For the moment, that remains a distant dream. And in the meantime, the Arab population of the city continues to experience discrimination. The Red Cross accused Israel this week of using its occupation to further its own interests and of disregarding its obligations under international humanitarian law. Jackie Rowland, Jerusalem, for Inside Story.
Well, joining us now from Jerusalem is Avi Melamed, a former advisor to the mayor of Jerusalem. He now lectures and writes on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And from Amman Raif Najm, a Palestinian who was born in Jerusalem. He's a former Jordanian minister and is now acting chairman of the Restoration Committee for Al-Aqsa Mosque. Mr. Melamed, East Jerusalem is considered an illegal occupation. The Red Cross is condemning Israel. Hardly a cause for celebrations, is it?
Well, it all depends, of course, on the eye of the beholder. Of course, that as long as the Palestinians and the Muslim world are concerned, they consider it to be an occupied territories. Of course, According to the Jewish and the Israeli side, it is reunification of the city, which is, of course, the spiritual and emotional heart of the Jewish nation. And I think that we have to make a distinction between different approaches, bearing in mind that whenever we talk about Jerusalem, basically the core issue is the whole issue, of course, of the old city of Jerusalem, and including, of course, the old Jewish quarter inside the old city of Jerusalem and the whole area of the Temple Mount compound and, of course, the Western Wall. So it all goes back, of course, like in any other political debate, to the perspective of the beholder. And it's obvious that each side will stand for a different, totally different political perceptions. And
going back to these celebrations, they certainly seem to be having a dwindling guest list. We know that the international community is all but boycotting it. The US and EU ambassadors have refused to attend. What do you think the international community is trying to say?
Well, I think the position of the international community regarding Jerusalem is quite obvious. We know very clearly the positions of many states regarding the whole issue of Jerusalem. But this is only one level. We have to bear in mind the Israeli level. And as far as Israelis are concerned, we have to bear in mind that for most overwhelming Israelis, Jerusalem is the capital of the state of Israel, is the capital of the Jewish nation, of course, for all the Jews all around the world. And regarding the question of celebrating or not celebrating, it is at the total picture, it's not the most important issue. The most important issue is to understand utterly that for the overwhelming majority of Israelis, Jerusalem is a consensus issue. And you could see, like, every day and every Saturday in every event, dozens and dozens and dozens of Israelis from all over Israel coming to Jerusalem, from different sectors, from different backgrounds, because it seems to me that for some reason there is a kind of like a misconception among many people around the world who fails to understand what is the substantial importance of Jerusalem in the heart of Jews, both in Israel and worldwide.
Mr. Najm, if I could ask your opinion there. I mean, we've been hearing why Israel feels that it is their right to stay there. They don't say it's illegal. Palestinians have full rights. Why shouldn't they celebrate?
Well, they consider this day as a celebration, but we consider it as a grief day for the Muslims and the Arabs, because the Israeli authorities changed the demographic situation in the city during the 40 years. And originally, the city was occupied by Arabs only, and now the majority are Israelis, due to the policy implemented during the 40 years ago. So the situation is different now from the situation at the time of the occupation in 1967. The Israeli authorities failed, in my opinion, to make unity between the people, the Arab people and the Jewish people in the city. And they have separation. They have the apartheid wall around the Arabic side of the city. And this apartheid wall is not agreed by all of the world. The resolution from the Hague court was against Israel, and also the resolutions from other places. So this day is not a good day for the Arabs and the Muslims.
Mr. Melamed, what do you think of the timing of the announcement of $1.5 billion to develop the Jewish side of Jerusalem? Palestinians are saying this makes Israel not a partner for peace.
It's not a question of a timing. You have to understand, Jerusalem is the biggest city in Israel. It is the capital of Israel. It's a vital and vivid city with large communities, different kind of communities, both Jews and Palestinians as well. The city has its own needs. The communities has its own needs. It's a growing and expanding city like any other city around the world. Of course, Jerusalem, which is so important for people worldwide, you would not expect Jerusalem to remain the way it is, and you would expect such a city to expand, to grow, to flourish, And it's not a question of timing. It's utterly a question of looking at things beyond the political prisma. And I think that in that point, it's very important to emphasize that utterly we have to bear in mind that we are talking about a city, a vivid and a vital place, and this is the right way to look at things.
Okay, Mr. Najm, if I could bring you in there, you say it's firstly a vibrant place, but a lot of Israelis are leaving. Money is being pumped into Jerusalem, but at what cost to the Arabs?
What your guest is saying is against the logic. The city is increasing in area because they annexed an Arabic land from the West Bank to it. Jerusalem area was about 80 square kilometers, east and west, but now it is about 400 kilometers. So this is on the account of the Arab land. Also, the Israeli authorities and the municipality especially, they are spending money on the west side only. They are not spending any money on the east side, because now the east side is below the west side. So as if they are living in the north and we are living in the south. So if the municipality would like to see the city as unified city, they have to consider the people as one unity.
Okay, Mr. Najm, we'll take a short break now, but when we come back, we'll consider possible solutions to the dispute over Jerusalem. Do stay with us.